we'll get back to regular 3 o'clock Eastern Standard Time posted workouts starting tomorrow. But we got a little cardio chat in the meantime to get back on the regular schedule. Every time I got like a crazy weekend or anything like we just had, it kind of throws it off just a touch. So if you're watching this the day it was uploaded, that means I just headed out and did my cardio probably like an hour and a half ago, right? So real close to being up to date. But yeah, so I I woke up from what I think was about 14 hours straight of sleeping, because I went to bed at like midnight-ish. But I wasn't up until, actually, what time? I don't know. I went to bed around somewhere like that. And then I didn't really wake up until like 2 o'clock today. Yeah. But the first thing that popped into my mind was Luke after he got whooped by that freaking, by that monster on Hoth. And he's in that like recovery tube. And they got him all tied up with everything. Yeah, that's how I felt, all cozied up in bed. I got to go to sleep with a full belly. That was nice. So everything's getting back into place. So morning cardio at 4 freaking o'clock. Oh goodness, mind my yawns. So I'm still going to be rather orange for probably the next, I don't know, maybe a week. I'm not even sure when I'm going to be back to regular kind of pale Sam. That might take a little bit longer. Somebody commented about a specific kind of like exfoliating cleanser that I should get from Walmart that does the trick with getting the tan off. But I don't know, it seems like it's on me pretty tight. Like this thing isn't really going anywhere until it just kind of naturally wears off. And it's fine by me, right? Being a little darker, it is a little bit of an improvement posing wise and pump wise. But plan for today, a little more chill with the food, because the last few days I've been eating just pretty much any kind of treats I can imagine. I'm talking little Skittles bags. If I see a little Reese's cup, I'm sorry, still waiting for the caffeine to kick into me. But like, little Reese's cups, just straight junk. I didn't really worry too much about a big reverse diet. Once the floodgates were open, right, they're open. But no, I've got a big ass bowl of oatmeal waiting for me when I get back, with some blueberries and some syrup, so I'll make it a little bit extra sweet on myself. But the plan now is 30 minutes minimum on the seated bike, and honestly I might end up extending it a little bit, because now that I've gotten a lot more food in me, and I'm like close to fully carved up. I'm probably not all the way there yet. Definitely more than I was the last few weeks, but it makes the cardio so easy. Like I'm actually kind of surprised that people complain and they kind of make excuses for doing cardio during like a bulking phase or like a maintaining or gaining kind of phase, because it's so easy. Like for me to pedal and get my heart rate up to 130-ish, break a sweat at about the 15-minute mark, and then I'm extra sweaty by the 30-minute mark on the bike. Like when I'm fed, cardio on the bulk is like nothing. As much as it's already not the most strenuous thing ever, because you're just sitting, pedaling, playing on your phone. When you're fed and you've got food in your system, plus like if you had a big breakfast beforehand, it really isn't too much trickier than just like walking, But that's kind of the inverse relationship with the cardio. The hard part isn't the act of doing it. The hard part is actually getting yourself to do it on a consistent basis, right? The likelihood of somebody telling themselves, all right, tomorrow I'm going to go do my cardio. I'm going to do it this time. Sam's been saying it. I'm going to make that shit happen. And then you go to bed, and like it's a plan. It hasn't been put into action yet. I think the success rate is still a little bit on the low end, maybe closer to well, it's hard to say. Definitely sub 50%. But if that same guy wakes up, grabs himself a dang, energy drink of choice, Or if you're old school, just get yourself a coffee, and then you get in the car and you drive to the gym and you park and you actually walk in. The likelihood that you're going to go through the act of actually doing that cardio has now completely spiked to, I would say, at least 90%, maybe even 95%. You know, something would have to really come out of nowhere in the world to stop you from doing your cardio if you've already driven to the gym, parked, walked in with the mindset that you were going to make it happen. You know, so it's just kind of a situation of get yourself awake and go make it happen. Plus, if you're if you have room, I would certainly recommend getting a cardio piece of equipment at your house, either throw in the garage or your parents' basement. I mean, that's what I did. I had the cardio bike down there for friggin' ever. Right now it's in the shed because we just didn't have room down there, and I'm not living there anymore. But sometimes I kind of think I should throw it in the back of my office. But I don't know. It'd be taking up a little too much space. Plus, I've already got an apartment gym that's kind of close by, so I don't need to do the cardio right in my room if I can just walk a couple hundred feet down to there. But after that cardio is done and I've broken a bit of a sweat, I definitely want to get into the sauna, and it does have a purpose right now, apart from just generally feeling good. Like, honestly, sauna post cardio, I just kind of like the feeling of it, right? A little bit of extra sweat. I'm not one to sit here and say, oh, I can really feel the effects of the heat shock proteins that I get from the sauna. I definitely think that that's not just random jargon. You know, when people talk about the hot and cold therapeutic effects, there's definitely something to go on there to be looked into. But for me, I just kind of like the feeling of it. But right now, I'm still holding on to some excess water from the rebounding effect of getting so flat and depleted and dehydrated from the last show, which now I've got a history of it after the Vegas show. I know it'll kind of come off me in about 3, maybe 2 more days. I'll be back to normal, and that's not just an arbitrary me saying it. Like, I can tell mainly my ankles are a little more swollen than normal. Nothing that I would be worried about, but it is just kind of the effect of post show. Right? It's freaking it's got its own name, show bloat. Now, I probably could have mitigated that by reverse dieting and still just eating 1,800 calories for a couple days and easing into it, but come on, I guess I couldn't control myself that well. But getting into the sauna and breaking a bit of a sweat like that, some of the heat exposure, I noticed that last week it did help me kind of speed along the process of getting back to a regular state of homeostasis, as it were. So I'm not really going to say that this bulking phase has begun until I reach that equilibrium weight, because I want to kind of really track this thing accurately. I think it'd be nice to get a real big poster board and draw out little dashes for every day, so I can actually make a big graph about how my weight changes week to week, day to day, and then see a nice little trend line of whatever that bulking phase ends up being called, which is still to be determined. But for me, I'm going to go camp onto the bike for 30, I might even push it 45 minutes, be a little extra crazy. Sauna, and then I should see you pretty much right back here in half a second, except the only difference will be it might be a bit darker and I'm going to be a bit sweatier. So I'll see you in a second. Alright, that feels nice. The sauna kind of a little scrappy. It wasn't full temp as I would have liked, so I wasn't really drenched sweating afterward. But those 45 minutes on the cardio bike felt pretty freaking good. Obviously, like I said, I've got some energy from having more food in my system. Plus, I always do a little caffeine pre-cardio. It definitely kind of, obviously gives you the benefits of caffeine, right? Touch of energy, a little bit of I forget, what does it do? It's masks your adenosine or something. Well, either way, small energy boost. But yeah, ended up doing 45 minutes there little bit more intense than normal too. Had my music going pretty well. I was getting kind of hyped into it. But yeah, man, I guess it's not something I usually talk about, because I'm always talking about the objective benefits of the cardio, right? Better metabolism, you're burning more energy. Obviously, your cardio health is going to be boosted. But for me, I'm more concerned with, okay, I have a need for having a solid cardio system apart from just regular life, because when I do heavy workouts later, like I'm going to have a good back day kind of late-ish tonight, if my cardio is scrappy, my lift is legitimately going to be hindered because of it. Because if my cardio can't handle dealing with reoxygenating all my blood from, a really hard, heavy set, and on back, like, dude, that's nothing compared to like crazy leg press or crazy squats. So if you have kind of a longer, maybe a little more lengthy squeezing kind of endurance style set, shit, man, I mean, do you want to stop the set because you hit muscular failure, or because you can't catch your freaking breath and you're getting kind of tuckered out and you're like, oh, okay, I gotta stop? I mean, which one's gonna be better, right? So it does have a pretty legit direct correlation there. And whenever I don't do my cardio, which as of late, like the last few years, very consistent, but I've done some bulks, like legit bulks, where I backed off on the cardio, and really just because I was being irresponsible with my time. I'd stay up late and then I'd wake up late for class back when I was in school, and of course I'd rather spend that extra hour sleeping than getting up earlier, cutting into my sleep to do the cardio. But those lifts, I could tell I was getting much more out of breath than the ones where I was keeping my cardio up. Plus, when you add a ton of food into the system, your cardio is already going to be kind of scrappy once you get to my size. I mean, once I start pushing 260, 270, I mean 280 with an asterisk, because we haven't got there yet, but I'm kind of making a bit of a prediction. Yeah. Getting some solid breaths and trying to funnel that oxygen throughout your whole system becomes much more pertinent, so something to consider. But on a bit more of a subjective note, I mean, the last couple days I haven't gotten to do much cardio, or no lifts. Like, I think it's been like that might have been a 6-day stint of no lifts, because like 3 days before the show you want to back off with the weights so that you can kind of relax your system. It makes it easier to pull water when you're not inflamed and still giving yourself kind of the recovery process from whatever that workout was. And of course, post lift was also the Arnold Expo weekend, but I also wanted to take at least a day to kind of get my system back in regular working order. So I didn't have my first lift till yesterday, that arm day. But all the walking around and standing and everything else, that doesn't really count. So I think I've actually got a solid stance on that argument now, where it's like, okay, if I hit my 15,000 steps per day, do I still need to even do my cardio, right? Does it cancel out? Does it actually still count if I get my whatever, number of steps? And I think there's an argument to be had, because obviously if you do walk that many steps, you did burn extra calories from doing so, and it is going to count in your total kind of like energy expenditure value for the day. But I don't think it replaces the act of like specific manual cardio where your heart rate is consistently elevated for a period of time. I think 30 minutes is a good sweet spot, and if you're feeling a little extra crazy, maybe up it to 45. But 30, at least reasonably close to daily, I think is about right. The actual recommended time of low intensity steady state cardio per week, I think, is around 150 minutes. I'm not sure where I got that value from, but I've definitely heard that referenced before. But if that's the daily recommended amount, I mean, don't forget the daily recommended amount of calories and like protein based on like FDA recommendations. Protein is what? I think 50 grams per day, and calorie intake is 2,000 calories per day. That recommendation is definitely not matching my lifestyle right now. So don't limit yourself by those random, I guess they're not random, they're actually pretty like systematically studied values. But don't put yourself under that umbrella value if that's not what you're doing, right? The average guy where that FDA recommended whatever is referencing is not training every day with weights extra hard and adding cardio to boot, right? So if you're still doing a sport or anything else like that, those values aren't really going to affect you, or at least apply to you, you know? So if I see 150 minutes and I'm doing more like 210 minutes, 30 minutes of cardio a day for the week, which the workout kind of counts a little bit, but you know, let's just leave it at that and keep it at the 210. I really don't think I'm overdoing it. I mean, come on. If you actually end up overdoing it, you would know, right? That would be like you're a marathon runner, you're doing 20 miles a day, David Goggins level, whatever. Just because you did a lift 4 days in a row doesn't mean you're suddenly overtraining. The human body is far more resilient than that. Now, of course, if you're a beginner and this is your first week of working out, it's going to feel like you got hit by a bus after, you know, one of your buddies takes you through a full, like, push-pull legs rotation. But that's the first lift that, or the first set of lifts that you've ever done, right? Don't count that as your bar. A month later of coming to the gym consistently, and you'll be pretty much exposed to that kind of stimulus, right? So don't freak about it. But what I'm trying to get at is at least hitting that value of that cardio amount per week. And it doesn't have to be every day. I mean, if I missed a day of cardio, the damn world isn't, or my world isn't going to implode. I would rather do it, but you know, I'm not screwed or anything. But yeah, this whole weekend of not doing it, and then now actually getting a full session in, yeah, man, it just feels good to break a sweat. You know, it's and maybe I'm just saying that because I'm a bit biased towards enjoying the working out in general, but the actual psychological effects of physical exertion, I'm no, you know, I don't have like a PhD in psychological connection or whatever like that, so I can't explain it absolutely perfectly. But for my practical understanding of the subject, dude, going hard feels good, right? Because your system isn't meant to just sit around. I mean, let's break this down. I think that the guys who like pushing the primal approach when it comes to diet and the training, sometimes they take it a little too far. But it is a good way of kind of looking at this situation, because genetically, I mean, going back a few thousand years, Stone Age, much more kind of like hunter-gatherer style, we're pretty dang similar. I mean, we're getting a little funky now with all of the like hormones in the water and plastics and sunscreen and whatever. But for the most part, 99.9% overlap of the DNA. You're exactly the same dude as was running around taking down mammoths, you know. So you're not meant to just sit around, play Marvel Rivals for 3 hours a day, and then go to sleep, right? You're meant to get up and move. You know, you're still an organism. Even though we can type in Excel sheets, does not mean that we're completely detracted from the natural order of things. And just being active, getting your shit moving, you are ahead of somebody who's a little bit more sedentary. And that's where I kind of have like, not a split personality, but kind of a, like, two sides of the same coin kind of like outlook on working out. Because of course I like the bodybuilding, right? That's my thing. That's what I enjoy. When guys are really into it, I can talk to them about it. I like getting into all the details of everything. But just in general, anybody who's into anything fitness or like athletic and activity related, they know that anything that fits under that very wide umbrella that we really got to see at the Arnold. I mean, they've got everything from fencing to strongman to gymnastics to the cheerleading to even freaking sports I couldn't even name off the top of my head going on all in the same place. If you asked all those guys from any freaking walk of life, fitness related or athletic related or whatever, who's better off? You know, the guy who gets to spend an hour and a half really being active, running around doing something, or the guy who doesn't? Yeah, 99%, I'd say a 100% are going to say the latter, or whichever one makes sense for the point that I was trying to make. But plan for me now, go home, clean up all the empty water bottles that I have thrown into the back of my car, which you can hear rattling around. Get some food in my system, clean up. My whole office is a mess because I've been going back and forth between the expo and the house to feed the cats, and then putting my camera stuff down, and then picking it back up and everything else. And then I've got a nice late back day for tomorrow, so I think we can expect a reasonably freaky lat spread, but we're not going to see that for another 20 something hours from right now. So if I can leave you with anything, I would say be freaking active in some way or another, right? So if you're watching this, I'm sure you already know that. I don't have to tell you, but you know, just embody the sentiment of that idea is what I'm trying to say. So I'll see you for some back tomorrow.